Today on Passion for Food, we'll be making this amazingly crusty and yet divinely melty crusted mozzarella cheese sandwich. And I'll share a little funny story about how I actually wound up inventing these, so let's go ahead and get started. And for the sandwich, I do also like adding a nice thick piece of tomato that we're going to sear just briefly in a pan, with about a half a tablespoon of melted butter. This step is optional, but I really think getting a little caramelization on the tomatoes really brings out the sweetness. And we do want to give these a quick seasoning with salt and pepper. After about a minute and a half searing on medium-high heat, they're ready to flip, and you'll actually smell that caramelization as it begins to form. And after about another minute or so, these should be ready to pull off, and we can move on to the cheese. And for the cheese, we're going to be using low-moisture mozzarella. You can use any mostly firm cheese for this, but I do like the mozzarella. Now, we might be tempted to grate this, but for the application we're doing, that's counterproductive, so don't do that. Now, what you do want to do is just have a look at the bread you're going to be using. We want to cut a piece of cheese just a little smaller than that. And the reason we're leaving this whole and not grating it is because we want that crunchy crust on the outside, but we also want that melty goodness on the inside. If you grate it, it's going to flatten out too much and you're just going to get crust. You're going to miss out on that ooey gooey goodness. So we're just going to square this off, and then it's time to get this cheese frying. You've fried cheese before, right? That's a normal thing people do. And I know what you might be thinking, wow, that's a lot of cheese. But hey, I mean, the cheese is the main star here. It's not like we're putting cheese on something, so I think that's okay. So let's go ahead and preheat a non-stick pan over medium-high heat. And I do like using just a little bit of oil here. And we're just literally going to sear this giant block of cheese. And the same rules apply here as apply if you're searing a good steak. You want to put it into the hot pan with a little bit of oil and just leave it alone. And let the Maillard reaction work its magic. It's going to melt down and form this amazingly crispy, chewy crust on the outside. It's kind of a funny story how I accidentally invented these. I had had a couple glasses of wine late one night and there really wasn't much food in the house, certainly nothing pre-prepared, but I did have this nice bread and some mozzarella cheese. So naturally I was thinking about making a grilled cheese, but then, I was thinking about those little bits of cheese that wind up melting out of the grilled cheese and get seared on the pan, and they're so crunchy and delicious. So I thought, hey, let's just make the whole sandwich out of that. And the crusted mozzarella cheese sandwich was born. So after about 2 or 3 minutes, this is ready for a flip. You can see as you push in the spatula, that crust will actually let you flip it right over. And I really love the beautiful color this gets, and yes, that is just as delicious as it looks. So we just want to sear this an additional 2 or 3 minutes, and we want to make sure our roll is prepared because this is coming off of here just hot and melty and ready to go. You don't want to have it waiting around for you too long. So I have this brioche roll that I've just lightly toasted, and on we go with this beautiful crusty fried mozzarella, along with our large slice of seared tomato, along with 2 slices of extra crispy bacon. You can leave that out if you want, but unless you just radically hate bacon, I definitely recommend trying it with the bacon first. It adds a great extra little crunch to the crunchy, chewy, melty situation we have going on here. And let me just demonstrate how awesome that crust is. Now, that's a sound you might not have expected to hear coming from a piece of cheese. But wait, you didn't think I was going to let you walk away from this without cutting this in half, did you? Now, when you serve this to people, they're going to think this is some complicated, fancy thing, but it's actually the easiest thing in the world to put together. And I mean, just look at that melty cheese on the inside. That combination of crunchy yet chewy and ooey gooey melty really is something special. So in closing, let me just leave you with this. Do you know why cheese never wins any Olympic medals? It's always falling on its final curdle. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode of Passion for Food. If you have, please give me a thumbs up below and consider subscribing and hitting that little bell so you don't miss our future episodes. This has been Graham with Passion for Food.